Hi, I'm Amber, otherwise known as the Observant Mom, and I had a bit of time and a private room, so I wanted to make this video explaining the idea of the hills of child development. This is a new idea that I've been working on, and it's been hard to explain. It's been a struggle. It was a struggle to explain the milestones as well. So the age-related milestones that I document, that I'm most known for, documents the age-related stages children go through. And so these are the times that children act up. They become more demanding, more aggressive. I'm sure any parent can tell you about these age-related stages, but as per the theory of many, on the other side of it is a burst of new mental ability. And so this is not an aha moment, which was the previous confusion, but it's something biological, something about their brain architecture went through an upgrade and they have new core skills. So that's what my work attempts to document. I document both the demanding stage, I call it the irritable period, and the new abilities that are seen. So as I was doing my child development work, I started to notice that the milestones went through a pattern, like several milestones clumped together, seemed to follow the same pattern over and over. And I call this pattern a hill. And so a hill is several milestones together, usually between 1 and 5. And you can think of it as where over-optimism meets reality. That's the simplest way I can explain it. And you see that behavior elsewhere in human behavior. You see it like when a business goes to build, when a new market comes in the free market, they tend to overbuild. There tends to be too many businesses at first, until they go and they realize consumer demand was not there, and so some of the businesses have to scale back or change. And so the over-optimism is given a more workable form. It doesn't take away the initial ambition, it just gives it a more formidable, better practical application. So that's the high overview of a hill, but it's not, a child doesn't think to themselves, I'm going to go build a business. This is something that's biological. My argument is that it's something that they ineluctably do. They have no choice. Mother Nature designed it this way. And so a hill is the beginning of the hill, that they are given overly optimistic thinking. They go up into fantasy play, and then they come back down to apply their new skill. So here are the stages of each hill. So what happens is they are given some wildly, overly optimistic thinking. That starts off a hill. So my favorite example of this is in the mid-3s when they think they can shrink. So that's not realistic whatsoever. It's very wildly fantastical, but it is optimistic. You have to give them that. So this kicks off a cascade of predictable behavior. They are driven to want to try their hand at it. They want to go do that. And so that's going up the hill. Going up the hill is learning, and I call it a gathering and sorting stage, because they'll go and get the stuff they want to learn the new skill they were just gifted with. They don't think to themselves to do that, but they go do that. They gather, and when you're going up a hill, all you see is the hill. They're very focused on it. They can be milestone. There's typically one milestone that is going up the hill, and they are typically possessive, belligerent. They might want you more as they're trying to figure life out. So then they get to the top of the hill, and this is where some of the stages start to intermix, because it's a product of their natural development meeting reality, and that order is not as set in stone, but typically there's a highly creative stage at the top of the hill. So they've learned a new skill and they want to try it out. And this one is marked, most of the milestones are marked by some type of creativity, but this one is marked by creativity for creativity's sake. They just do things for fun. In the toddler years, they might just play little practical jokes on you, stuff like that. So, but then the next stage is a frightened stage. This kicks off them going back down the hill, I argue, and the frightened stage is related to their magical thinking. Now, using the example that they think they can shrink, this lends itself easily to being frightened. For instance, they might think they can go down the bathroom drain. Now, this is probably after getting ample experience with their new skill. They've been learning, gathering, noticing, and all of a sudden they look at that drain and they're distraught. This stage typically shows a high amount of fear. It also typically shows a child who grows, and so in this fear and this growth, they tend to have more physical accidents, they tend to fall over more, and they also tend to spit more. And the overly optimistic stage, the one that kicked it all off, tends to see a very unusual head shape. Their head becomes enormous. And then the frightened stage also tends to show an unusual head shape as well. So this kicks them off going back down the hill, and I think it kicks off them being more practical with their skill. I can't quite tell you what's going on inside any child's mind, but I can tell you when I'm frightened, I want more control over reality. So I live in the southern United States. If there is a tornado warning and I'm genuinely afraid for it, I tend to go arrange stuff in my house. I tend to make sure there's nothing high that can fall on me in whatever room I want to be in. I go and get my children's helmets. I make sure things are to my liking. And that is another stage. There's typically a milestone there that a lot of parents would probably easily recognize, that their children become wild, aggressive, insistent that things be a certain way. And so that's what I call the wild and free stage. And so then they could start to get back down the hill. In the older ages, starting at 3, they become self-reflective sometimes. They become hard on themselves. They want other people to like them sometimes. They become more prone to shame. And then they get to the bottom of the hill, which is a very confident, very sunny stage. And I would say the harder the hill, the sunnier the bottom. They become confident. They have a new skill, and they stomp and sashay around, and they actually become a little bit too confident. They think the fact is they have one skill and they're missing a lot of other skills, and so they can become too belligerent, too insistent, and sometimes even hypocritical in how they go about things. So that sets the stage for the next hill. That plateau that they're on is a great launching point, because Mother Nature is again going to rearrange their brain. And I think Jungian psychologists might take an interest in this, because they believe that the brain is prone, it has instinctual programming that is released at age-related times, and that possibly in dreams is when the brain gets rearranged. And so I think that they might be super interested in my work. I would love for more people to become interested in my work. The hills, I put together the hills because the milestones have problems with them. There's a lot of them. There's 10 to 20 in any given year, and there's more variability. And if you have 10 to 20 things in a year, I mean, not every kid's going to hit that timeline, but if you understand the hills, there's typically only 4 to 5 hills in any given year. And so that makes it easier, I think, to understand. I know this concept is hard to understand at first, but I think it provides a more elegant solution to understanding childhood behavior. Very typically, when someone says, I see all the behaviors in several milestones, I would say, well, that's probably because it's the same hill. So yeah, the reason why I made this video is because I saw someone say the idea of hills help them, and I was very happy for that, because this has been hard to explain. So anyway, my work is at theobservantmom.com, and my book series is Misbehavior is Growth. The one for toddlers is out, and the one for 3-year-olds is out, and it has my work in it. Thank you.